Paper, scissors.
Kryptonite, night. LJ, Kansas City red. Mike, paper, scissors. Mike, paper, scissors.
All right, family. Welcome to Mike Paper Scissors. I got my usual suspects with me. Well, suspect man Abdur. He's missing out today, so it's just me and my man, the villain from Fort Worth, my man Brock.
What's good?
So today we gonna touch on that presidential vice president candidate, Miss Kamala Harris, and we're gonna unpack the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay.
Because I see a lot of bad comes out, but nobody really wants to speak on the good. And I feel like if you're gonna talk about one, you got to bring up the other. Don't bring up all the bad shit I did and not bring up nothing good I've done. So I think we should, unpack it and dig in.
Well, I'm definitely with you on that. I mean, a lot of people don't like a lot of the stuff that I have to say, especially politically. But one thing you can never say is that I don't give the same energy to both sides. So if I'm going to tear one side down, best believe I'm coming for the other. If there's something to be torn down, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I want to start with saying that a lot of the rhetoric is kind of comical to me, because you see both sides, going through their own little hysteria. You see, the Democratic followers, for lack of a better term, seem to be semi-split. You have some that are like, hell yeah, great move, but then you have a lot of them tearing them down. But the people who I see celebrating are your ultra loyal right-wingers. They are celebrating. They think that, hey, this was the best move in the world for Trump. And I'm not necessarily buying that after doing a little research, so what's your thoughts on that?
I can agree with you. And, the first thing that people are going to bring up is her conviction record in California as the AG or
DA.
DA.
It's DA.
So yes, she did some foul stuff. I'm not. Hold on, you know what? No. I'm not even gonna call it foul. I'm not gonna call it foul.
Did she do some foul stuff, or did she do her job?
I'm correct myself. She didn't do nothing foul. She was doing her job. She bought into a system, and did she get a little overzealous with it? Maybe.
Yeah, she did.
Maybe. Maybe.
She got the Millie whopping on that thing,
man. But what people take out of context is, yes, there was a lot of convictions, but a lot of it was in her office, not directly by her.
Well, all right. You know what? I hear you.
I mean, you can say one and the same.
I hear you, but just like, hey, we could talk sports. Just like sports goes. If you win it, the quarterback get all the love. If you losing, the quarterback get all the hate, even if it wasn't the quarterback's fault. So
she got to own that.
Yeah, got to own that one.
Okay.
Got to own that one. I hear what you're saying, and in a lot of instances, I do believe she was doing her job. Doing her job quite well. And some would argue that she was probably one of the most open-minded in the state at the time, as far as being open to find alternative measures for potential people ending up in the system, whether it was starting a program for mental health or looking into things to keep youth from even getting caught up in the system before they became that statistic. So you do have.
I'm glad you said that.
You do have that. And I'm a big proponent of this, and most people Most of our people don't agree with me. A lot of our people do. If you don't want to get caught up, in the criminal justice system, don't be involved in criminal activity. Don't do shit to have you have to come across her desk if you don't want to get caught up.
At,
That is at some point you gotta know how to behave. Is my
right
point.
now, during her conviction, a lot of them were marijuana. Listen to this word, possession.
That is the one area that I take issue with. And I mean, hey, somebody laugh and say, "Oh, that's because B's like a pothead or something." No, that's not what I'm saying. The reason I take issue with that is because of her stance on it now. Now, as times change, we grow, our opinions change, etc. But she drew a hard line in the sand when it came to possession. Yet she, in her, prior to that, it openly admitted to being a casual user herself. Um, you know, and she actually admitted that on multiple occasions that yes, she didn't play the whole I didn't inhale thing. She said, yeah, I inhaled. I remember what the high felt like. Remember what I was listening to. She really kind of got into that. So, that said, I understand that was the law at the time. But not only did she enforce that law, she didn't get behind any laws, bills, or any form of fashion of policy in the state at that time to actually decriminalize marijuana in her state. She didn't support any of that at that time. It took for another DA to come in to really get behind that and push that, and also lift a lot of those individuals' records who were just caught up behind small possession charges.
Yeah,
Not possession with intent to distribute, just possession, just a cat trying to get faded.
right. So yeah, it's a thin line with that because you got possession where you might have a pound or 2 pounds, and then there's possession.
Well,
You
you just
might
got a
just have
zip.
you might have a 20 sack on you, right? So
Right.
so I I hear you, but let's go back to what you were saying about her many policies for alternative incarcerations. I don't hear a lot of people speak on that. People think she was only trying to lock people up. Nah, she was actually coming up with alternative things for incarceration, and especially young people, so they wouldn't get caught up in the system.
Yeah, that was very interesting to me when I did a little homework myself because I mean I'll be the first to admit I didn't have a whole lot on her prior to let's say maybe about a month ago when she started getting serious consideration as the VP.
Hmm.
And that's when I really started digging. And initially, my thoughts, I was wondering how well she was going to do with the current climate of the Democratic Party. The current state of the Democratic Party and given everything that's going on in the world today is, supporting the ideas of defunding the police, some areas demilitarizing the police, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of the people who are behind those those initiatives support the Democratic Party. And with her being viewed as, top cop, for lack of a better term, I was wondering how she was going to fit into that. But when you look at some of the things that she supported and tried to initiate, it kind of falls in line with that. Whether it's not so much defunding the police as much as she seemed to be pushing alternative measures as well as education of the law enforcement officers. So I do wonder if she's going to be able to bridge that gap between, hey, we don't need to defund the police, but we may need to reform some things.
And she's for police reform right now.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Once I started looking at it, I wonder if she'll be able to actually bridge that gap and say, hey, y'all, I know y'all over here talking about defund the police, but maybe, just maybe, we can do it a little different and still keep those people in place that we need. Um, because I'll be the first to say, and I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm very much so an independent, and you're gonna have to earn my vote. But for those who are very much hardcore on the defunding the police thing, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan because as I've grown older, I've acquired some things and I got shit to lose. And so that said, if I can't protect me and mine, then at the very least I need to be able to call a well sustained police department. If I can't, unless you're just gonna do a total lift on any restrictions on the Second Amendment and allow me to have whatever I want to have, then hey, if you do that, I'm all for a little social anarchy. Let me buy what I want, and you can do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. I really, I think that she has enough legal savvy to be able to partially bridge that gap. You'll never do it, whole way, just because it's politics. You can't make everybody happy. Somebody's gonna be pissed off.
Right. So one of the other things that always comes up with her is her truancy act, truancy initiative. What do you want to call it? And
Yeah.
so
How you
it
feel about
says,
that? As a parent, how do you feel about that?
as a parent now or a parent 20 years ago?
Uh, Both, because I mean, like my kids are spread apart in age, so I have my own feelings on it as well. But I'm curious to know how you feel about that.
Okay, as a parent, my first go around, I probably would have been against it. It wouldn't have affected me in any way, but because of where my mind was then, I probably would have been against it because I wouldn't probably try to have understood what she was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But as a parent now, I understand, and working in the school system, I fully understand what she was trying to attempt.
Okay.
It because so it was. She said, I'm gonna lock. She said I'm gonna do, but I'm just saying, locking up parents for truancy, giving them a fine of 2,500 or a year in jail. Basically, what she was trying to do is make parents accountable for their kids' truancy, but you also had to take in account the various reasons why your kid wasn't in school, which would have had to have the school come into play as well, so we can understand. Like, was my kid truant because just me not giving a damn about where my kid is during the day, or were there health conditions behind it? Was there any type of disparities that would have kept my kid from going to school? So that's my stance on that. So I'm not saying I'm totally for it, totally against it. I just understand it.
All right. So I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna throw this out there because I'm not totally sure. I couldn't. I didn't find anything that said this specifically. But did that truancy act um contain an age on there?
I didn't see anywhere that I did my research where it brought up an age.
Nor did I. And that's where I run into the issue, um, age. And what I mean by that is this, it's one when you're talking about, kids, I'll say, um, eighth grade and younger. Okay, fine. Chances are they're still riding the bus or getting a ride to school, something of that nature that involves the parent or a guardian or some form of fashion of transportation that the parent or guardian is set up. Um, However, when you're talking, what I'll say driving age and older, 16 and up, 15 and up. I mean, I wasn't no saint, man. And I mean, my parents could have made sure I got to school. And if I wanted to skip, I was going to skip. And thinking back on it, should my parents have been held accountable for that?
Well, back then, back when we were younger, yeah, I mean, the game was a little different, man. The game was a lot more different. Like, I think more parents owned the accountability of their kids opposed to now. And is what I see. Is what I see. Parents back then, like my parents, if I wasn't in school, I had hell to tell the captain once I got home because they done got the call that I wasn't there. And opposed to today, where I see parents, you tell me your kid skip school, they're like, I can't control them. I mean, they're coming up with all these reasons why the kid skipped school.
Well, you're right. I dig that, but I'm even just referring to an age. Should there even be, maybe potentially an age that goes with that? Um, because at a
Yeah.
certain age, regardless of what generation we're talking about, I think the only difference that I could say probably back then as opposed to now, um, let's say I was just really wilding out and just not going to school at all when I was 16. The difference between parents then and now, my parents would have said, "Oh, okay, you don't want to listen? Well, you can get the hell out of my house." You know,
Okay.
like, okay, cool. You want to be grown? Go be grown.
That's what I'm saying. Your parents, they owned it, and if you didn't own it, it was a wrap.
Right. But
Totally different. But I understand what you're saying. But
yeah,
yes, there should be ages, because once a kid is in like high middle school to high school, I mean that kid's basically gonna do what they want to do
right. It's not a whole
if
hell of
if
a
you're one
lot
of
you can
those
do
loose
about it.
parents. Yeah,
Right.
it's not. But let me give you the big but in there. This was something she enforced, but it was already a state law signed by Mr. Schwarzenegger when he was governor.
Governor Arnold.
Yeah, so he's the one that signed the bill for it. She just enforced the law. That's all she did. So that's what I mean. Like, you got to tell both sides of the story. You can't just let's just attack, scrutinize. Nah.
Well, she definitely did a hell of a
And
job at enforcing things. I
but
will say that.
and also, what people don't know is there were three stages to her truancy. It wasn't just like, oh, your kid wasn't in school. We're gonna lock you up, leave
Nah,
you
you got
upon
a
the block.
warning letter, and then you got a
Yeah,
secondary
there was stages.
warning, and
So see, that's what I mean. Again, come on, people. Let's keep it funky. Like, open the whole can. Just don't just crack the can. Open it all the way up.
yeah,
Um, Now she got a real bad mark on her. She got a couple cases, man, where there's a couple people in jail that actually shouldn't be in jail because her office was didn't produce.
substantial evidence.
um yes, and like you said, the quarterback, win or lose, you got to own it. So she had to take the hit on that one.
Right.
And she actually has the ability to overturn these convictions, and hopefully, she does the right thing and she will do it. I think because of the light she's under right now, I think she will look into it because she just doesn't want to have that held over her for too long.
Yeah, and I mean that to me kind of leads to one area that how can I put it, where I kind of get that politician vibe from her, and it's that do you feel differently because you feel differently? Are you going to overturn those things because you want to overturn them, or are you being an opportunist? Are you being a politician? The same with the whole the thoughts on marijuana, where she was, she smoked before, but she was against it to the point. Well, I can't even say she was against it, but she sure as hell.
No, she was against it.
Well, I mean, hey, but she was a user, but
But,
be
and
it
then
be it be it recreationally or not, she was a user. So, are you changing your stance on it because now she's for talking about
legalization.
legalization? So, is it an opportunity thing, or did you truthfully just change your mind? Did you grow? I'm not saying that people don't change. I
Well,
understand that I'm not the
that
same man today that I was 10 years ago. There's things that I had opinions on 10 years ago that I have totally different opinions on now. I understand that. It's just when you're playing the politics game, I have to I have to stop and ask myself, are you being a politician or is this truthfully how you feel?
that I don't think we'll ever get the answer for.
Nah,
Like,
for any
so
of
I don't think yeah.
them. For any of them.
Okay, so one thing she is supporting is, obviously she's for police reform. She's for bail reform. She has developed a plan, like we talked about earlier, to keep young kids out of the system. She has behavioral health court for you know for mental health. There's a lot, but the number one thing she's for is qualified immunity. And for those that don't know, qualified immunity is basically what protects these police officers when they shooting black people. I'm gonna say it like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
It's really for any government official, but police. Obviously, we see that police utilize this one a whole lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm all for that. I really am. I just don't. I try not to get myself so caught up in the reform aspect when it comes to judicial issues and criminal reform and things of that nature. I believe that certain groups of people, and by certain groups of people, I mean, black, white, and different, or if you want to break it down to political ideology, certain groups of people get behind certain things. Most conservatives, you'll never hear them um, go up against anything that even resembles gun control. It's just not going to
Mm-hmm.
happen. On the flip side, very few black people, do anything that is against um, criminal reform. And my thing with that is that we're not all criminals. So why am I going to hang my hat on criminal reform and criminal reform alone when I am a big advocate of just knowing how to act? And I'm a big advocate of our people starting to have a code of conduct and holding ourselves to a higher standard of being a person that we need to be for our community. So, yeah, we need some criminal reform, but not so much so that Ray Ray and them that's actually doing some shit is getting off. You know,
But I understand what you're saying. But I mean, I think it goes back to the way the justice system has treated us for so long. I think that's why we're big advocates of it because we've been the recipient of their bullshit for a long time.
I agree, but we've gotten so far into it to where it's almost like we're blind advocates. All right, come on, man. How often do you go on the gram, you go on Facebook, and what do you see? Some random, oh, free my cousin, free my nigga this, free my homie that. And some of them I've seen, and I'm like, nah, I know that dude. He killed all them people. You need to put him under the jail. No, don't free him at all. He needs to be right where he at. You know what I'm saying? So we yes, I understand that we have been um targets to this system for generations. But now we blindly follow it when in all actuality we shouldn't. Because a lot of that is what a lot of those individuals who are stuck in those criminal mindsets, I believe, are a lot of what holds us back today as far as advancing as a whole. I'm not as a collective. We are not all criminals. We ain't all out here banging. We ain't all out here selling dope. We ain't all out here running hoes. We're not what they depict us to be. Yet those of us who are, it's kind of like the squeaky wheel gets the oil. They're the loudest ones. So that's what we're viewed as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, just maybe, a little social Darwinism needs to take place, and their asses might not need to be, given such a pass. Get their asses up out of here.
I feel you. I feel you. So, and one other thing I personally won't do, I don't do. I'm not gonna tear down, scrutinize any sister that for white enjoyment. Like I see black people just tearing her down. I'm like, y'all are just putting on the show for these white folks, huh?
Yeah, I saw
Just
some that
gonna,
said, you know, oh man, that age old question: can you be pro-black but in an interracial relationship? And
we've talked about
yeah,
that
and
earlier
we've talked about it,
episodes.
right? And we've talked about it and unpacked it. but I knew that was going to be a topic that came up the moment she became a candidate. And, to be perfectly honest, you love who you love. I don't care who you fall in love with, who you with, whatever. Do your policies match what I'm looking for as someone who you're trying to earn the vote of? Do your policies match that? If your policies line up with what I want, then I really don't give a damn who you married to. I don't. I could care less.
Yeah. Who you met? Yeah, you can't help who you fall in love with.
Yeah,
I forgive you that.
yeah.
I've always gone back and forth.
You might catch the side eye at the cookout, but
I've always gone back and forth with that debate with myself. So I don't even have a definitive answer. I really go back and forth with that. Like some days I'm with it, some days like hell no.
Right.
So, it's just it depends on what day the wind's blowing.
Right. Some days you like, hey, you know what? It's all of us together, all of my brothers and sisters. And other days you like, I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all.
So I think we're gonna do a debate on that, and I'm gonna bring on. I might have quite a few guests on that day. Like I really want to dig into that one because that is a subject that we've always talked about. Me and you talked about, and I would like to bring it to the mics.
Now, well, I wanna preface that with this here, for our listeners as well as anyone who may be a future guest. This is primarily for our females. Would it be different? Would it be viewed differently if it was a black male politician married to a white woman? Would it be viewed differently? Would it be more or less acceptable? And I'm not saying that it's more or less acceptable by me. Like I said, I super don't give a fuck. But for those who do, would it be different if it was a man versus a woman? If it was a male politician that was married to a white chick? Would black women still support him?
Let's definitely table that, and that's going to be we're going to bring that up for the next episode because I think we can unpack that fully.
Indeed,
especially with the right females on board.
Indeed,
but so we're gonna drop this right here. I think we touched on enough to really make people think a little bit more before they get out there and want to tear Miss Harris down before really digging into her record and all that shit that was taken out of context. So
right. I mean, people, we're not telling y'all who to vote for, how to vote, whatever. It's just
that's right.
Hey, do the math, and if the math works for you, great. If it doesn't, that's cool too. But at least do the math.
There you go. And on that note, thank y'all for listening.
Peace.
This is called Mike Paper Scissors.